Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today is going to be another fix-it video, or trying to fix video, another video where I've bought something faulty off eBay and I'm going to do my best to fix it. Now with all these videos I'm not an expert in these repairs, but I will do my very best, so take it more for entertainment rather than a how-to video. There will be lots of mistakes made and sometimes I can't actually fix what I'm trying to fix. So in here now we have a Microvision. This thing came out in 1979 and basically, as far as I know, it was the first handheld device which took cartridges. So this thing came out many years before the Game Boy, but essentially did the same thing, but obviously not as good, otherwise it would have been a massive success, and it wasn't a massive success, but it was still innovative for its time. Right, okay, so here it is here. And the idea is that this unit here is the controller, and then the games are this grey bit here. So I also got myself another game, bowling, and on this particular one it's green. And then the idea is that you interchange the inside of it. So you take out the grey and then push in the green, and then you have another new game. Right, let me show you what I paid for it. Also comes with a little not very nice case, kind of fake leather. Velvet on the inside though. Nice to have the box and everything. Right, this is what I paid for it. So I paid £20 plus £2.95 postage, so £22.95 in total. And it basically says MB Microvision box with slipcase and blockbuster game faulty. Plenty of pictures on it. Okay, so that's the inside of it there. And it says here, MB Microvision in very good cosmetic condition inside and out as far as I can see pictures. It has been tested with correct power supply, 2x 9V batteries, but unfortunately it will not turn on. I can't be certain what the problem is. Considering the console's good condition, I should hope it's something minor, so I'm selling it off and hopefully someone else will know what to do with it. Comes in original box with original slipcase and blockbuster game, all in good condition. Thanks for looking. Right, so I mean that seems honest enough, doesn't it? But obviously just because they're saying they don't know what's wrong with it, somebody else might. For all I know, that person might be an absolute expert at fixing these things, so you can't always go by that. But still, the very fact that it shows the inside and stuff, I think this is going to be an honest one. So let's get this up on a table and take it apart and see if we can fix it. Right, okay, so let's pop some batteries in it. Now it does tell us up here plus minus, but you know, when I did a little bit of research on here, actually this could be the problem. It said that the biggest fault was people putting the batteries in the wrong place, so minus and plus instead of plus and minus, and it doesn't look like there's actually anything to stop you from doing that, which is a bit bad because on these 9V batteries normally you have the kind of cap that you clip on them and then you know that they're in the right place, but to have the setup like this, especially when it can be a little bit confusing because actually the bigger one is minus on here and the smaller one is plus, so I'm wondering if that could be the problem. So let's make sure I get it in the right place. See, it doesn't even want to go in. Looks like these are being pushed up too much or pushed down too much. What a horrible design. I think what's happened is the previous owner or previous owners before must have thought it was a bad contact on the battery, so they've bent them right down. There we go. Okay. Now how do we turn this thing on? Oh, the buttons are horrible. Right, it doesn't appear to be doing anything when I press that button there. Let me just quickly get the instructions out, or see if there is any instructions in here. And that must be the on button, surely. Right, okay, there's no instructions. Right, well it's certainly not doing anything with this game, but it could in theory, could it be a faulty game? I suppose it could be. Let's unplug that. So obviously this is the touchpad down here, and under here there must be a certain amount of buttons, and maybe different games have different buttons. In fact they do, because I'm looking at this bowling one now, and this bowling one has different buttons here, doesn't it? Ah, look. That's broken there, and this looks like the on and off button. Hold on, is there a switch for on and off? Oh, beg your pardon, what an idiot. There's a switch at the side here. Let me plug this back on. Oh, dearie me. Right, okay. On. Right, okay. It's still not doing anything, so the switch is down here. Looks like brightness is at the back. Let's turn it off. Try the bowling. No, there's definitely nothing happening there, is there? No noise, no nothing. Right, what happens if we turn it on with no game in it? No, it's still nothing. Right, so we're definitely going to have to take this thing apart. So let me get my mat out, and then we can take a few measurements around the place and see what's happening with it. Just going to take the batteries out, make sure there's no hidden screws. It'd be nice if it was just the on and off switch. Right, so the back comes off nice and easy. And it looks relatively straightforward. I hope it's not a problem with this chip here. Right, let me zoom right in so you can have a look at it. Yeah, so we got a capacitor, some resistors, we got a chip here which says that might mean something to some of you out there, means nothing to me. Examiner 28, another capacitor. This is for the brightness, so that must be some sort of like variable resistor thing. And I'm not too sure about everything else, but we've got the power here. Looks like we've got the switch down here. This is the, again it must be like a variable resistor, turning it round here or something along those lines. Ah, look, we've got a ball of wire here. Where should that go to? That's not right. We've got just a ball off. Now that should go somewhere, shouldn't it? Okay, so that's not like it was from the factory. We've got two wires here. I wonder, did there used to be a speaker? I wonder, should this go down to, hold on a minute. I think this part here, I think there used to be a speaker. If you have a look here, it looks like there's a little hole. I bet there was a speaker here at one stage that the wires travelled down here. Okay, so I need to look into that. In fact, I wonder now, will it turn on now that I've disconnected them? I wonder, could that have been creating some sort of short or something? Let's pop the batteries in and see. Actually, let's have a quick look at the other side. Right, so we have a ribbon cable here, and these are the contacts. Can you see here? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different contacts. Just a little kind of keypad thing going on. So I should be able to test them by unplugging it from the ribbon cable here. Actually, it does look very simple. I'm not sure what is up in this bit here. Don't know whether there's anything under here or not, or is it just for heat or something? I don't know. Let me undo these screws here just to see what's going on. Oh, that's interesting. So these are the contacts here. Oh, here we go. So that just rests against these contacts here. So I suppose I could give them a clean, but again, the fact is it's not coming on, is it? So it sounds like a power problem or a display problem. If it was a gain problem, it could be a dirty contact up here. Oh, okay, so now I can see what's under it. Oh, we got this on it. Looking at that display, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but hold on. Can you see all the blotches on it? Hold on, wait, I don't know if the camera can see that or not. There, look at that. Do you know, I'm just going to put batteries in and turn it on again. I'll tell you why. With these, if these are put in the wrong way, then I believe you can't see the screen. Because I was mucking about with this on some of the other things. These are like I think it's called a polarizer, something like that. And without these, you can't actually see the screen. Because what some people do is they, I've seen it on YouTube, they get a monitor and they take this off the monitor, and then for everybody else all they can see is basically like a white light coming from the monitor, and then you put these in your actual glasses, or you know, get 3D glasses and put these in place of the normal lenses, and then basically you're the only one that can see the monitor. It's quite clever. You can see there how it's going from white to black. I'm wondering if that was put in the wrong way. Yeah, I can really see loads of marks on this display. I hope it's not a display problem. Okay, let's put some batteries back in here. Just checking the screen, seeing if anything's happening, which is not. But maybe you have to have the game plugged into it. I think it's time to get the multimeter out and check a few things. I also need to find out if I can get a look online to see what's happening with this white cable here, to see where it should go to or not. Right, so I'm just going to go to continuity and just check the switch to begin with. So it looks like we're just joining the purple to the brown wire. Right, okay, so unfortunately the switch itself is working. Now remember, the person selling this might have been very good at fault finding. You know, just because people say that it might be an easy fix, it obviously doesn't mean it is. Right, so that's okay there. So now what I'm going to do is, just because these wires do look ever so slightly crushed here, I'm now going to go onto the contacts on the board and see if I've got continuity. Which I have. No, I haven't now. So that switch is definitely working. Okay, so now what we'll have to do is we'll have to try and trace where the contacts go to. I'm going to try and take this out for the time being. Yeah, again I can clean that up. You can see it's gone slightly kind of tarnished over the years, but that can be cleaned, that's not a problem. Right, so the two minuses are together and the two positives are together, so that should make it easier to fault find. So from here, it goes to that part there. Now this, whatever it's called, I'm going to call it a voltage regulator. I really don't know what it is, but let's just call it that, just for the sake of this video. I can see it definitely looks a little bit messy around there. Can you see here? Right, so the first point of the 9 volt goes to the switch, and then so it goes through the switch and it comes up on the brown. So then it goes onto the brown here, which goes all the way up to here, this contact here, which is, oh, okay. So it doesn't allow it to be turned on unless the cartridge is inside, because look, hold on a minute, how does it know it's got, I'm a bit confused now, there's two little contacts here that it goes up to. So basically from the positive it goes down the purple wire, back up the brown wire, up this track here to this point here, and then it goes onto the pin. But obviously something needs to bridge across here to something needs to bridge across it to turn it on. So we have to work out what that is, because there's nothing on the other side there. Those resistors are there, so something definitely has to touch against that to short it out. So with this one it goes, ah look, there's a hole there, isn't there? There's a hole there, so something has to, oh here we go, this thing was on it. This thing was on it here, so it definitely only turns on when there's a game in it. So that's good to know. Look. Right. So that has to be on there. That goes down, and then that allows the voltage through to pin 1 on here. So wherever pin, you know, when the pins go into here, pin 1 is what kicks it all off. Right, okay, definitely starting to get somewhere now. So it looks like I'm going to struggle to get this working without constantly putting it back together because of the way the batteries are and stuff. Unless I was to solder voltage straight onto it, that might be easier. So we have to short that together to make it work. Right, okay, I'm going to have to put it back together because it looks like the game's probably integral to the actual working of it. I thought maybe if I just kind of turn it on and stuff that I'd be able to get some display on the screen, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Oh, here we go, look. When you push this in, it just pushes that back and makes contacts against here. So again, if these were dirty contacts, that could also stop it from working, it looks like. No, can't see anything there. I wonder if I could measure voltage coming out of here maybe. Right, I am getting a reading there, which is good. So if I went across to here, getting a reading. If I go to this point here, getting a reading. And if I was to press that down there, I should get a reading on that pin. There's just not enough pressure here. I'm really tempted to solder it on a power supply to it. Yeah, okay, there's definitely 9 volts on that pin there. Right, so there's 9.4 volts going out to here. 9.1 there. I'm just going to go around different parts of the board just to see if I can make out what's going on. This thing lifts up. Oh, okay. I wonder if it could be dirty contacts on the LCD. Not enough pressure on it maybe up the top here. This to me is so hard purely because if I could have it all connected up, then you see I could apply different pressure. But the problem I've got is that, you know, you need to have the button press down here, you need to have the cartridge on in order to make it work. Well, that's what I believe anyway. If I had another one to test, then I could make sure, because maybe on the other ones, as soon as you turn it on, maybe the light does light up here. I think I'm going to take this off here and see if there's any way I can get it to stick on there. Oh. Right, okay, so that's fine. That's just on long springs to spring this up and down. Okay. Right, so this is it here. This is the brains here. Or the brains of each game. So I should be able to put this on here like that. But then everything's got to line up. I think this is going to be unlikely. This board is short against anything on the back of the chip there. I'm trying to apply pressure to the screen. There's absolutely nothing happening here at all. Ah. Do you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix this one. Right, okay, rather than the video going on for 75 hours, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go across various different things on the board to see if there's anything obvious. And then if there is, of course, I'll stop the video and let you guys know. Way through the board, so now I'm doing this controller at the bottom, and you can see that when I turn it, you can see that the display is changing here. Yeah, it's a 7.2 kilo ohms, 6.3. So that says to me, I mean, it could be out of range, but that says to me that that is working. It's doing something anyway. Yeah. And as well, this little brightness thing down here, when I go across it and I change it, then it also changes here. So there you go, 19 kilo ohms. And now if I was to change that a bit this way, see 26 kilo ohms, and then if I was to go back the other way, (9 kilo ohms). So again, that says to me that that is working. Again, it's doing something. Now I've gone across each of the resistors and they are measuring something. So I'm just going to muck about with the capacitors for a bit. I'm going to unsolder them from the board and double check that we are actually getting what we should be getting. Actually, before I desolder, I just want to check the keypad here. So if you have a look, you can see that on all that happens is we have a row of contacts here and then a row of contacts up here, and then this kind of rubber pad, just probably to, I don't know, add a little bit of a feeling to it or something, because you don't actually need the rubber there, do you? And all that's happening is when we press it hard, it's just I suppose it's give it a protection rather than using a bit of plastic jabbing into it all the time. It'll probably fail quicker. If you have a look, we've got the 3 contacts on this side feed the bottom, and then the 4 contacts on this side feed the top. So if we wanted to do that button there, then we would have to do this contact here on the inside, and then this contact here, so the 2 middle ones basically. So let me just show you that. So if I put the meter to continuity when they touch together, so if I was to press this one here and this one here, yeah, you see? And then the next one would be the next one along. And then that one wouldn't work anymore. Right, I'm just going to do the rest of them now. Okay, I'm also having problems with this keypad here. So I feel that this is starting to slip away from me because there seems to be quite a lot of things that are wrong with it. Also, if you have a look here, you can see that this comes off in its entirety, which isn't a problem. It might just need a clean along here and here. The problem I've got again is that I don't know how much this has been messed around with in the past. Really, when I seen that it was open, I should have probably walked away and looked for another one. For all I know, it could have had parts swapped around, couldn't it, as well, with another one. Anyway, let me unsolder the capacitors. I'm not going to give up yet. Right, so this one's testing okay. It says 0.2 microfarads, and if I go across it, 0.22 microfarads, and there you go, 0.2. So that one's okay. Okay, so this capacitor here is testing a bit out of range because it's saying that it's 10 UF at 50 volts. And yet when I go across it here, it's coming up as, see, it's 15.8 UF, and I think you're allowed to have it about 10%. Is it 10% over or under? So that's actually quite a lot over, isn't it? That's like, it's nearly 60% over. And if I put it into the thing here, but I don't think this is going to cause the problem of it not working at all. And if I put it in here, it's coming up that it's 16 UF. So this one's definitely reading out of range. So I might see if I've got one of those to replace it with, but I don't think this would actually cause the problem of it not working. Right, so this one here is 33 UF, 50 volts. And it's coming up as 44 UF, so again, it's out, isn't it? Let's try it on this one here. So that's 45 UF. So it looks like they're both kind of reading out of range. Right, okay, so I have got a 10 UF at 50 volts, so that's fine. But unfortunately, I haven't got a 33 UF at 50 volts. So I might order one of them up, but I think it's highly unlikely that that is going to cause the thing not to work whatsoever. But then again, what do I know? So I'm just going to pop this one back in now, and then I'm going to put the 33 UF back in. And I still need to find out what this is, so I need to go online to find out what needs to be connected to this white one, because I probably need to order up whatever that is as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go online now and do a bit of research on this thing, find out if I can see any pictures on the inside to see what this thing is here. I mean, if it's a speaker, then it should still work without it, and I'm thinking it probably is a speaker. Okay, so I've been looking online, I had a look at Wikipedia, and it clearly shows the inside of this, and it clearly shows a speaker on it as well. It's got me slightly worried now, and I'll tell you why. There's three main problems with this. One is Esd damage, so basically when you're handling the cartridges, it's got a little flap that covers this, like you've seen earlier, you know, the spring-loaded thing. If your fingers can touch across here, it's very easy to send voltages into this and it blows them, so that's a very common problem. Be unlikely here because I've got two games, so they would have to both suffer from Esd damage. The other thing it suffers from is Keypad Destruction, which is basically this thing here. This can break down. Now, as you know from when I tested this earlier, for some reason this top row here, is it the top row in this one, isn't testing properly, so I think I might be able to get that fixed by using possibly silver paint if the lines have gone here, so I'm not overly bothered about that. But the main thing I'm bothered about is it's very common to have screen rot, which is basically when you have the LCD leak on the screen, and I'm thinking that's exactly what happens here. Now, this is why I'm a little bit worried. You know, obviously I've had very bad experiences on eBay in the past, not just me, but obviously many people do have bad experiences because it's a bit of a dumping ground. I'm wondering why the speaker's been pulled out. Now, I do not think it would be the seller that sold it to me because he took pictures of the inside of it. but I'm wondering if in the past that this was taken out on purpose because it has got screen rot. Now if I was to turn it on and hear the noise, because this does make noises, I've watched a video on Ashens doing this, and it does make noises. Now if it was to make noises and there was nothing on the display, immediately you would suspect the display, wouldn't you? But if it doesn't make noises when you turn it on, you might think it's a power problem. So I'm wondering whether the speaker's been taken out of it on purpose. Now that is just a cynical part of myself saying it, but I'm a little bit unsure. So what I'm going to do is, I found one of these little speakers. Now I'm not 100% sure what they're called. I think it's piezo buzzers or piezo speakers or buzzers or something, but they were in lots of equipment from years ago, so I've just pulled one out of something else and I'm going to try it. Now I don't know if it's the right size or anything like that. In fact, it looks to be a bit on the big side, but I just want to see if I get anything out of it. Now there's two wires here. I'm not sure what goes where. It doesn't say anything on that side. It just says CB. It doesn't say plus or minus or anything. So I'm just going to solder them on. I'm thinking it's not going to make any difference. And then I'm going to put it all back together and see if it makes any sounds when I turn it on, because I'm slightly worried now that it might be a screen problem, because obviously if it is a screen problem, then there's not much I can do about that. It's going to be unfixable. I'm hoping it's not a screen problem though. So let's just solder this on and see what happens. Okay, so that's soldered on. Let's put it back together now and see exactly what it does. Okay, so I've just put it in and I've put the speaker just sticking out here because there wasn't enough wire to bring it down to the bottom. So let's now pop the game into it and see if it does anything. No, still not making any sound whatsoever. Oh sorry, that's on now. Oh, here we go. Did you hear that noise? Definitely heard a noise for a minute. Let's turn it off and back on again. Here we go. Did you hear that? But there's nothing on the display at all. I'm wondering if this is one that's got the screen rot. I'd be a bit naughty to take the speaker out just for that reason. Let me try the other game. Okay, so every now and then it's making a noise, so the thing itself is definitely working, it's just not displaying what it needs to display. There you go, you see. Right, let's turn it off. Let's try the other game. I'm going to read the instructions and actually find out how you turn this game on. This is going to be the number of players. This is going to be the speed of the ball. Press that once and then press it again to set up the pins. And this is to release the board. There should be another one here. Doesn't appear to be anything happening on this one. That could be because the keypad's not working properly. Really, I'm beginning to think that this is beyond hope now, because if the LCD's gone, it's impossible. I can't do anything with it. And also, you know, the keypad's gone as well. I'm going to put the actual cartridge in itself, and then I'll be able to put pressure on the screen here just in case it is a contact issue. Right, I can hear the noise again, but nothing's coming up on the screen even when I'm applying pressure to it. Right, okay, so I'm going to do lots of cleaning now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up all these contacts here, because some of them are quite badly stained along the edge and stuff here. And then hopefully I'll be able to test this with a multimeter. And then also, more importantly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the contacts here, even though they look perfect, and also along here with a cotton wool bud and also some IPA cleaner, just to see if that makes a difference or not. Okay, well, those stains are not coming off. They're on the metal bit, you know, all those funny marks and stuff you've seen. The actual LCD itself looks to be pretty clear. There is actually quite a lot of dirt coming off the contacts here. Now, the first time I did this I was really worried, and maybe it will damage this one. But I had this little handheld gaming football thing that I did in another video, and when I did this, the display came back to life. So I'm not saying it's going to work this time, but I'm pretty sure this all pinpoints to a display problem. Lots has come off, unless that's the rubber in between each of the contacts, I don't know. So if you have a look here, let me just zoom in. This is the problem with the keypad here. So I'm on this outside track here, and if I go here, you can hear it, but now look, you can't hear it there. So that's broken there. This one, again, you can hear it here, but not here. So it's gone along this crack here. I think this one does work. No, it seems to lose it there, and this one's gone here. Right, okay, so it's gone in loads of different places. The cleaning, it didn't help. I was too rough with the cleaning, but still it wasn't working properly beforehand, and most of it is to do with the fact of the crease here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some silver paint, and basically I'm going to have to repaint some of these tracks, and hopefully it will conduct across it. Let that dry now and see what it comes out like at the end. So while I'm waiting for this to dry, I'm just going to put it back together, because even with the keypad, I believe it should still display on the screen. So I just want to see now that I've cleaned the contacts, see if it makes any difference or not. Okay, so let's see what happens now. Nope, still absolutely nothing. Yeah, so I mean the game's working, you just can't see what it's displaying, so it's either going to be the chip or the display itself. In fact, it's going to be the display, isn't it? Because if it was the chip, well, mind you, I suppose the chip handles the display. Oh, I don't know whether to waste any more time on this or not. If I had another one, I could swap the displays over, and then I would have more info on it. But right now, I can't do anything. In fact, I don't even know why I was pressing those buttons, because it's not connected anyway. Such a shame. Thing is, you think I would get some kind of display on here when I'm pressing down on it, but I'm not getting anything at all. I'm going to muck around with it for a while and then see if anything happens. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is I've ordered up one of those capacitors just to see. I mean, it is out of range. Now, I don't think it's going to make a difference, but I don't really know, do I? So I'm going to put the new capacitor in and then see what happens. Now, I've been doing a bit of reading up about it, and the chip, the big chip at the top, apparently is an LCD driver, so that's the thing that drives this. Now, what I was doing was, I had the back off it here, but everything else connected, and the strange thing is, on every single pin of the chip, it was reading between 8 and 9 volts. Now, I could be completely wrong, but that seems a little bit high. So the voltage going into the LCD was, all of them was above 8 volts. So there's actually quite a lot of information online. It's above my knowledge, but basically on that chip, it's a 40-pin chip. You have like the voltage in, you also have the earth, and then you have a few data ones, which I presume is getting the signal into it. And then basically you have, I think it was 16 rows by 16 columns. So basically every single pixel has a row and a column, and I think the voltage has to be a certain amount to turn that on. And looking online, depending on where you have this thing down here, I think the voltage is like 1 point something to 5 volts. So the very fact that we've got 8 volts everywhere seems a bit odd. But the thing is, the voltage regulator, when I looked that up online, there seems to be two types very similar, and I think there's like a negative one and a positive one, and the negative one goes from like -2 to -30 or -40 volts, something like that. But it says to adjust the voltage, you need transistors and stuff before it. Again, this is way over my head. But the thing is, I didn't see any transistors in here, and coming out of that voltage regulator, it's all, again, 8 to 9 point something volts. So to me it seems to be working, and when I plug it into my meter here, it's got 4 legs, and then when I plug 2 of the legs in, it comes up as a diode, and then when I plug the other 2 legs in, it comes up as the diode, and then when I do the middle 2 or the outer 2, it doesn't do anything. So I mean, they all seem to be doing something, again, unless it's out of range. If it was completely dead, then I would say that the voltage regulator is faulty, but you know, I don't know. Unfortunately, this is going way beyond my knowledge, and I thought it was going to be quite straightforward because it was old. But the problem is, it's because this is like a controller, and then the game is here. So to do the testing and stuff, it's got to go through the game back into the controller. So to me, it's a little bit complicated. As well as that, I don't really know if these games are working. For example, both my games could be faulty. They could both have suffered that Esd damage. But when I bought the green one, it definitely said working and tested.
Basically, I would love to have another one of these to be able to prove the fault, because then I could swap the LCD and then I would know 100% the LCD's fine or it's broken. I could swap the main board over, and you know, I could even unsolder the chip and put it into another one. But unfortunately, I've had a look on eBay, and these, the next one that I can buy, but there's only two for sale in the UK. One is £95 and one I think was £105, and unfortunately I can't spend that kind of money on something like this. And as well as that, the reading up that I've done, loads of people say the screens just fail because this is kind of very early technology for LCDs, and similar to the Game Gears that are all failing now, this was 10 years, well more than 10 years before that. So you can understand that these are going to be failing. So people said they had 5 working one, now they've got one that's got screen rot and one that's working, and the other 3 are completely dead. A lot of people are saying they had numerous ones, and bit by bit the screens are all failing. So unfortunately, I think I just picked a bad one to fix. It's just a shame because I thought it might have been a power issue. So that's where we are at the moment. I'm going to wait until the capacitor arrives and then I'm going to swap that out. If that doesn't do anything, unfortunately, I can't think of anything else to change. The voltage regulator I can buy for £6.50. I don't really want to spend £6.50 on that voltage regulator because I think that this one is just showing signs that it is working. I'm just a bit concerned how the voltage hasn't dropped anywhere to a lower amount, unless the problem could be in the actual game itself. So from the controller it goes into the game, and maybe there's something in the game that should drop the voltage down to then go through the chip to the display. But I don't know that. I'm just assuming because I've got 2 of them that one of them should be working, but that might not be the case. So what I'm going to do is when the capacitor comes, I'm going to install it and then see what happens after that. But unfortunately, I think that would probably be the last thing I'm doing on this. So when that arrives in a couple of days, I'll fit it and then finish off the video. So a few days have passed and my capacitors have now come in, and these are, yeah, 50 volts and 33 UF. So let's just give them a quick meter reading on the multimeter just to make sure they are reading that. Okay, so that's 36. I'm going to get one that's a little bit closer. See if there's any that's a little bit closer to 33. They're all reading that. Okay, well, let's run with that. So we're going to pop that in, and also what I've done is I've measured the resistors, because I was thinking it looks like the voltage comes off the batteries and it goes through this voltage regulator here, and then it goes through the resistor before it goes through this thing here that controls the brightness of the screen. So I'm thinking if the resistors were wrong, maybe they're allowing too much voltage into the system. So I've measured them, and what I've done is, if you have a look, you can see there's got colour code bands on them. Now, I don't pretend to say that I actually understand this stuff, but basically this is a 5-band resistor. So what I've done is I've punched in those color codes into Google, and there's some really helpful sites that tells you exactly what the resistance should be. So basically, if you have a look here, it's hard to see, but on this one, can you see that this brown band is slightly more to, there's a bigger gap between the brown and the red than, for example, the yellow and the orange. So you read it from this side first, and this will be the last one. Then on the bottom resistor here, then what it would be is, can you see that these are all close together, and this brown one's on its own again. So this one would be red from this side here. So I believe the biggest spacing is the one at the end, which I think is the tolerance, like 1%, 5%, etc. So what I've done is I've punched in those color codes online, and basically it should be coming up. One of the resistors should be the R2 resistor, because it's labeled at the back here R1 and R2. It should be, the R2 should be 33.2 kiloohms, and the R1 should be 43.2 kiloohms. Yet when I go across them here, so if I put my meter just to ohms, when I go across this one, so this top one here should be 43.2, and it's coming up as 20 something. So there you go, so that's coming up as 25 kiloohms, and this bottom one should be 33.2, and it's coming up as 22. So they're, to me, unless I'm reading them wrong, they also look wrong. Now I haven't got exactly the correct resistors, but in this pack here I bought like a pack of just multiple different sorts of resistors. One of them's 33k, so that's fine, I'm going to put that one in. And then the other one, I haven't got a 43, but I have got a 47. So what I'm going to do is I had a choice between using, I think it was a 39 and a 47. So it says at the back here, yeah, there you go, 39 or 47. So I think I'm going to go with the 47 because it's the closest one. Now, I know it might be a critical part that has to be exact, but what I'm thinking is, if they're going into this, for example, variable resistor or potentiometer, whatever this thing's called here, the thing that adjusts the brightness, well, from the little bit of reading up that I did, it's this that allows the output to be, for example, between 1 and 5 volts, depending on where this is, because this controls the brightness of the LCD. So I'm thinking, even if the resistor's slightly out, as long as I don't go to the extremes, then I shouldn't really cause any problems. That's my thinking. I might be completely wrong here, but that's why I'm going with it. So I know I can buy the correct one online, but just to see if it works now, I'm going to put in the incorrect resistor, just to see if anything happens, because I'm still not convinced that this capacitor and resistor is going to make any difference. I think it might be the chip, the driver chip here, or the actual LCD itself. Now, the reason I'm not 100% sure about the LCD is, I didn't get this on camera, but when I was mucking around with it, remember when I was trying to do it all by hand, I did see the LCD light up, but it didn't make any sense. Basically, half the pixels on the screen were just lit up, but the very fact that half of them were lit up says to me that maybe the LCD is actually working. So what I think I did is, when I was putting the game across here, I probably jumped the pins, or maybe I went across the pins when I was wobbling it around the place. And then all of a sudden, it happened 2 or 3 times where the screen did light up fully on half of it. So I'm not 100% sure that the LCD is to blame. And also, when I was using that, I was using different little zebra strips. So in here, you have the, if I get the LCD out, actually let me just bring up the whole thing, it's easier. In here you have these little connectors here, and these are basically zebra strips, and this is what connects the board to the actual screen. And I did replace this with another one from another little handheld game that I had, and that's when half the screen came up. But again, it'd be different if it had the correct thing on the screen, but it didn't. So I've gone back to the original ones again, because again, I don't think these are faulty. But again, it's all kind of guesswork. But let's swap these capacitors and resistors out, and really then, if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to call it a day on here. Show you the resistor here when it's out. Ah, look, it is reading. No, it is reading okay. Look, 43.2. Interesting. I thought when a resistor was in the circuit you could measure it okay, but look, you can't. 43.2, so that's reading exactly like it should do. So there's no point in changing that one. Right, okay, oh, that's annoying. Well, let's pop this one back in. I thought you could measure resistors in the circuit. I didn't think it made a difference. I might as well put it in the way it came out. I believe it doesn't make a difference when it comes to resistors. Oh, well, that's interesting. At least I've learned something, because this thing's turning into a bit of a failure. So I'm happy now that I know that you can't always get a true reading out of the resistors then. Let me pop the other one out and see what that's doing. So this one should be reading 33.2. There you go, 33.8. So that's absolutely fine. So there's nothing wrong with those resistors. Right, okay. Well, I'm a bit disappointed, but still, it is what it is. So let's pop this back in, pop it together, see if it makes any difference when I've changed out the capacitor. But I'm almost certain it's not going to have made a difference. But still, you never know. Yeah, at least the capacitor's definitely testing incorrect. That's 44 UF. I'm just going to do these again now that they're in here.
25, 22. I wonder when I move this, would it make a difference? You know, the brightness thing. Yeah, 28, 24. So it's when I move this brightness thing. Let's go right the way around here. 20, 19. 28, 24. Right, okay. So the resistors change value depending on where I have this thing turned here. Right, okay, let's pop it all back together and see if that capacitor has made any difference at all. No, I've lost the screw again. That was hiding in here. Right, okay, now. Always losing screws. I found out what this thing was for anyway. Apparently it didn't ship with this, but when you bought the games they gave you these, and it was supposed to help with the ESD, so you know, the static shock that these suffered from. So yeah, that was apparently supposed to, maybe would it dissipate it or something as you go to put the game in? I don't know. Right, okay, so we've done that, it's all back together, so let's pop a game in. Now, what are you thinking? I'm thinking there's a 99.9% chance this isn't going to make any difference at all. Right, batteries are in. Let's turn it on. And there's nothing. Yeah, I didn't think there would be. I'm just going to turn the brightness at the back. Yeah, so the sound's still working, the game's still working, it's just not displaying. Right, unfortunately, it is time for me to call it a day. Really, I thought I was getting better at this stuff, but on doing this one here, I realised how little I still know. So basically, where I get most of my knowledge from is from other people. Watching YouTube and reading on Google, and unfortunately there's very little information about this that makes sense to me, but it might well make sense to someone else. Now, just out of curiosity, let's pop the other game in. Yeah, there's still nothing displaying there. There we go, I just heard the noise there, I don't know if you heard it. So what did I do in it? I changed a couple of capacitors, made no difference at all. Unfortunately, I couldn't verify what the fault was. If I had another one of these, then I would have been confident that I would have definitely been able to verify the fault. But the annoying thing for me now is I still don't know if it's the LCD, the driver, or the games that are faulty. I'm really none the wiser. But it was still relatively interesting to see the inside of this. It was actually a lot more complicated than I thought. And remember, this was the first handheld with cartridges, so it was quite nice that you actually buy the controller with the screen and then the brains of the games plug into each one. So kind of clever how it works. Still a bit confused why the speaker was taken out. I hope nothing sinister was going on there. Maybe somebody's already gone through this with a fine-tooth comb, knows what the problem is, knows it's unfixable, and tried to pull a fast one. I hope that's not the case. I'm just wondering why the speaker was not in it. I don't know, because I mean, would you save much battery by cutting the speaker out? I wouldn't say this is going to take up much energy at all. Unless it was a case of they were a child and they were wanting to play it late at night, in which case then they didn't want to alert the parents that they were playing a video game. Possibly. Who knows? Who knows the background of this? It's been around for quite a few years, so you're never going to know the full story. But yeah, unfortunately, on this one I couldn't fix it. But this might not necessarily be the end of this, because I've got an idea of who I can give this to, but they haven't said yes yet because I haven't told them. But if they do agree to it, then I'll send it to them and they will have a lot more skill in this than I will. So if they do accept the challenge of trying to fix this nightmare, we'll link it in the description down below. But unfortunately for me, this was a big
failure. But still, it was relatively entertaining to see the inside of it, but if I'm honest with you, I didn't really enjoy this one. I would have loved it if I had another one of these, because I could have swapped the parts and then I could have said with confidence what the fault was. But right now, I am really none the wiser. But I'm not going to waste any more time with it, because I really don't know where to go from here. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's been a bad start to 2019 as far as the Fix-It videos are concerned, but that's what happens. Not everything can be a success, can they? And remember, this is real life, and I do post the failures as well as the successes. So I appreciate it. If you liked it, please still give it a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of thing, subscribe for more how-to videos and trying to fix videos. And I'm hoping that my next fix in 2019 will be more successful. So that's it for this video. I wish you all a happy new year, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye now.